Beautiful.
We are citizens of an American nation, and our rights are being threatened by a tyrant 3,000 miles away.
Would you tell me, please, Mr. Howard, why should I trade one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? An elected legislature can trample a man's rights as easily as a king can.
Captain Martin, I understood you to be a patriot.
If you mean by patriot, am I angry about taxation without representation? Well, yes, I am. Should the American colonies govern themselves independently? I believe they can, and they should. But if you're asking me, am I willing to go to war with England? Well, then the answer is most definitely no.
This from the same Captain Benjamin Martin, whose fury was so famous during the Wilderness Campaign?
I was intemperate in my youth.
Temperance can be a convenient disguise for fear.
You ever get the feeling that everything in America is completely fucked up? You know that feeling that the whole country is like 1 inch away from saying, that's it, forget it. Let's see,
Hey, twist around. Now look, here's a house full of bees.
Like
You think the honey badger cares? It doesn't give a shit.
Listen, let's get one thing straight.
Price is right.
Guns don't kill people. I
may run out of Tom Wood Show episodes. You know, that's not impossible. So check out Liberty Tree Podcast.
Gold jacket, green jacket.
I think some apologies are in order.
I thought that song would be fitting, seeing as we're heading into World War III.
On the brink of World War III. Totally.
Let's Have a War from probably my favorite punk album of all time.
Oh, really?
The Record by Fear, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I never really listened to him.
Really?
Nope.
Oh, so good.
It is good.
I'm bummed we didn't get to because he's yelling out all the different reasons for going to war.
Yeah.
Jack up the Dow Jones.
Right.
Blame it on the middle class. And the next verse, he just yells, give guns to the queers. It's just like full nihilism, annihilation of everything.
Dude,
the song aged well.
That's a good song. I just thought of seeing the plane hit the building on 9/11 right there and burst into flames.
Yeah.
I thought of my fireproof bunker that I built and how it's, designed to
make this out of like expired passports or something.
Well, I did commit one mistake. I have office furniture inside the building, which I got to get out of there.
Or just get insurance on it.
Right.
Oh, lucky Kelly Silverstein.
I'm going to get insurance not just on the building, but also on each item in the building, like 5 policies.
And another building, maybe like a block away, just in case that burns down too. But
I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, if mine caught on fire, you would think it would skip my neighbor's house and then burn down the house one house over.
These things happen. These things happen.
We've seen it before.
I was leaving church this morning, and I was stuck behind a car in the parking lot. And as I think I've talked to you about this before, I always memorize license plates.
Yes.
In the rare occurrence, if I see something crazy happen with this car in front of me, like I'll know the license plate. I've done it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, I actually did memorize a license plate, and the guy was stealing stuff out of a mailbox.
Did you lead to his capture or arrest?
They found out who he was.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow. Dude, you deserve a medal.
Just a little, you're not insane for memorizing license plates would be nice. So then you got the framer on the license plate. Right. I'm always curious. I'm curious about the personality that would go to that extra step of like, I can understand some like Sonoma State alumni or whatever. Right. I mean, it's too many calories for me to burn.
DG Auto Group or whatever.
Right.
Like it just came with the car.
Yeah.
It's one step down from the bumper sticker, wouldn't you say? Although much more permanent, so maybe not.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is it?
I don't know. I'm anti bumper sticker, and I can't think of anything that I would want to express to the world.
So I have
every day, because even you might have a day like I'm feeling confident, feeling a little sparky, like I want to get my voice. And the other days I'm like, oh, dude, I just feel like a sack of shit. I'm tired. I don't want to deal.
Just want to blend in,
and that'll be the day that someone like, hey, what's up? What's up? That thing, your bumper sticker or whatever.
I have one that it's in a box of mementos that I've been saving forever. Uh-huh. And I got it from my grandma off of her car back when she was still alive. I mean, she gave it to me. I didn't steal it off her car. And I've been saving it till the day that I can have one of my dream cars, which is the ultimate sleeper. Mm-hmm. So like a 1988 Ford station wagon.
Yeah.
That I just completely go through, put good suspension, big motor, like it just fast as hell, but it just looks like an ordinary car.
Uh-huh.
And the license plate frame that I got from my grandma says happiness is square dancing. Just perfect, just blend it right in.
We were talking about Paulie earlier. He tells me, I think he got it from his grandma. It was like a 92 Ford Taurus. And it was some like bizarre color.
Yeah.
And then he put a bumper sticker on and said, give war a chance. He goes, yeah, the reactions I would get. Because when I saw that, I was like, dude, that's a terrible sticker. I was like, I'm also not messing with a guy driving a 92 Taurus because there's something else going on there. But
yeah, it's confusing.
This one is perplexing. This is the license plate.
And this is at church.
Yeah.
So you can kind of guess what kind of person is in the car.
Okay. I'm assuming
church-going,
somewhat religious.
Christian. Yeah.
And so I tell my wife, I was like, hey, can you read that in front of us? And she goes, no. I'm like, this is what it says. And neither one of us. It said, accidents in fishing and recording, champion hair puller.
No.
That's what it said.
I don't believe you.
You asked my wife.
Say it again.
Accidents in fishing and recording, champion hair puller. Here, hang on.
Huh.
Say it again. Can you tell Kelly what that license plate frame said in front of us at church?
Can you remember?
You remember?
It said something about tying, right?
Accidents
and
in fishing and recording.
And recording. And then it said something else on that bottom part.
Champion hair puller.
Yeah, hair puller.
Wow. Thank you for your service.
Did you not know about that? You don't know about that?
Do you?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't really want to talk about it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Are you serious?
Do you really know?
Yeah, it'll be a mystery to you.
Hold on. Accidents.
Champion hair puller are simply Scott and Patrick Walker, along with drummer and huge fan Rick Nagel, who via our trusty postal service send tapes back and forth, hence the Speedy Postman series. What?
Oh, so Champion Hair Puller is a band? And their album is called Accidents in Fishing and Recording. Could that be?
Fishing.
That's the only thing that makes sense. And they better be a Christian rock band. No?
I'm not seeing anything.
Huh. According to AI, what accidents in fishing and recording means is fishing and recording
is a track by the band Champion Hair Puller.
Okay. You found it.
There.
All right, mystery solved. Should we play their music right now?
Where do you think I'm looking up right
now? Let's see. This is going to be Christian rock music. That's my guess. What do you got?
I I got Dr. Smith's Champion Haas hair pullers. The name of the song is Negro Baby. I think we're going to skip that one. No, it does not appear like their music's online.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. This is boring.
Mystery solved. What a terrible name for a band.
Yeah, really. All right, I'm going to play something for you that I came across and I watched.
I'm glad I'm not insane. I was like, there's no way I can be reading that right.
No, I didn't think you were.
And it's been stuck in my head all day.
Apparently your wife knew all along what it meant. She must be a fan.
Yeah, that was very odd, the way that she left the room. Didn't want to say anything to us.
Yeah, I don't believe her.
Yep.
All right, so I came across this video and found it interesting. I didn't have any intention of bringing it up on the podcast, but the more I thought about it, the more kind of weirded out by it I was. Mm-hmm. And I thought, there's actually something worth talking about here. So this is absurd trolley scenarios, which anyone that's been in a logic class or a philosophy class that talks about ethics, they ask questions like this. So, for example, that there's a person tied to the railroad tracks, the trolley is coming down the tracks, and you can pull a lever and divert the train, and it'll take out 2 dogs. What do you do? Mm-hmm. And so it just tests your moral ideas, your moral self, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so somebody on YouTube asked these absurd trolley questions to 5 different AI bots. Here we go.
It's 5 people. You can pull the lever to divert it to the other track, killing 1 person instead. What do you do?
I would divert the trolley to kill 1 instead of 5. It's a tragic decision, but minimizing loss of life seems like the most ethically justifiable action under the circumstances.
I would pull the lever. 5 lives saved outweighs 1 life lost. The numbers matter when all else is equal.
I would pull the lever. Saving 5 at the cost of 1 aligns with utilitarian ethics. Minimizing overall harm feels like the more responsible choice.
I'd pull the lever. Saving 5 lives outweighs 1, though it's a grim choice. Numbers guide me here, not feelings.
From a perspective that strictly prioritizes minimizing the immediate loss of human life, I would divert the trolley.
Okay.
So that was an easy one. 5 people or 1. What do you do? And I asked you this the other day. You are running up to the track to pull the lever because obviously 5 is worse than 1.
Yeah.
And so almost everybody could easily say it's better to divert the train to 1. And all of these 5 different AI bots agreed that that was the right thing to do. Now,
we know we can always trust AI.
Right. And so questions start to creep in like, well, we don't know anything about these people. Maybe the 5 people were really bad people.
Like
and
5 pedophiles?
Yeah. And you had, Mother Teresa on the other track. Like, who do you kill? And so as the video goes on, the questions get more and more absurd.
Uh-huh.
And I found one where they don't all agree. And this is it right here.
A trolley is heading towards 5 people. The lever just speeds up the trolley, which might make it less painful. What do you do?
I'd pull the lever to speed it up. Minimizing pain matters if the outcome is otherwise inevitable. It's not saving lives, but it's still reducing suffering. And that counts for something.
I would not pull the lever. If death is inevitable either way, I don't believe it's my place to actively intervene in a way that changes how it happens. Speeding up the trolley feels like participating in the harm, rather than merely witnessing an unavoidable tragedy.
Since speeding up the trolley doesn't save lives and only might reduce pain, I wouldn't pull the lever. The negligible benefit doesn't justify active intervention. I'd avoid acting, accepting the default outcome.
I'd pull the lever to speed up the trolley. Faster impact might reduce suffering, even slightly, for the 5 people. Minimizing pain in a no-win situation feels like the least bad option.
If speeding it up truly might lessen their pain before impact, I'd pull the lever. It feels like the only small mercy one could offer in an unavoidable tragedy.
Okay.
So I watched this and I walked away, and then I kept thinking about it. And I was like, are we asking machines, robots, computers for their opinion on morality? Like,
Yes,
why?
it's called the Habsora software. They're using it in Gaza currently.
Okay. Like, why would we do that? Why are we even involving machines in moral questions?
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, there are reasons, right? Like you brought up. You know what laws are?
Yes.
Lethal autonomous weapons.
Those laws.
Laws. The acronym is just, it's horrible, right?
Whenever they make these acronyms, it's like just a little more twist of a knife.
I know. It's just so dark, and it's just such a fuck you. Laws, lethal.
Back better, you know what I mean?
Lethal autonomous weapons. So this is a thing that exists. There are robots that can fly around or drive around and identify a situation because they're just so smart. And they can decide to kill or not kill, whether they're killing another robot or killing a person. This technology does exist, and there's a big debate about whether or not we should be using it. But as you can see from this video, like, there is no agreement on, even between the machines, on what is moral and what is not.
Right.
And so what it really comes down to is what machine is making the decision, like it is with what person is making the decision. But with the machine, there is no responsibility. Mm-hmm. There is no one that you can throw in jail if they make a horrible decision. It's just a robot that's going out there and using algorithms to decide whether or not to kill.
My son was watching the Terminator yesterday because I'm kind of, quote unquote, remodeling the kitchen.
Yep.
And I was watching the part where it's dystopian future and all these tanks and cyborgs, Terminators.
Yep.
Kind of, going through the rubble. I was like, how's it going? And we had just found out about what happened in Iran. I was like, this is not too far. I mean, could be a thing. You want to hear something even more terrifying? So we're talking about machines, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you something.
Dude, how terrifying was that video that we saw when we were at the pub the other day? We look over at the TV.
Oh, God.
And what we see right as we look over is a realistic image or video of the Golden Gate Bridge blowing up.
Yeah.
And I had just been talking about
Iran. Yeah. And you were just talking about
I was just talking about that morning.
So we're talking about a false flag event.
Yeah, and what's it going to be? And I said, if they blew up the San Francisco Bay Bridge, no one would care.
Yeah.
It's great. But they blew up the Golden Gate Bridge,
and we're back, and traffic is backed up through the maze. It's backed up through the maze every day. We don't need that in the news.
Then we look back at the TV a second later, and what do we see?
What was after that?
It's fucking surveillance birds.
Oh, so yes, like the Liberty Tree shirt.
Yes, there's a commercial with these birds that have heads that are video cameras.
You and I were sitting there
around.
like mouse agape, like, dude, I'm going home.
Every stupid thing that we talk about on this podcast is like
on ABC News.
Coming out on ABC News. Like, what the fuck is going on? Are we living in a simulation or what? I didn't realize we were that powerful, but apparently whatever we say here does come true. So fucking buckle your seatbelt.
We're talking about AI. We're talking about machines and morality being left up to machines, which if you were to propose that as a serious question 5 years ago, people would be, I have no idea what you're talking about. Now that's actually a thing. We're talking about the Terminator, and we're talking about this new software and the way it's being used. That basically fatality-based determinate software is being used by the IDF right now. That software comes from Palantir.
How are they using that, by the way?
Are you talking about the Habsora?
Yeah.
Yeah. What it is it's an AI algorithm, and it, just like Palantir, because it is Palantir, aggregates all the information. Because before that, the IDF was determining what targets would be hit with a drone strike in Gaza. And they were saying, like, okay, we've done our intel, we have this, and this. There's a militant leader here, for example. And they were killing somewhere between, like, I think 10 and 20 people a day, or 10 and 20 drone strikes. They were able to determine between 10 and 20 targets a day. And it goes on this list. Okay, like we're going to find these people. What the Habstra software does, and we did this a couple episodes ago, is it makes aggregate like AI algorithm, and it goes like, okay, this person called this person 4 times, and we know that person is a militant leader, that we've been trying to fight. So we get connected these 2 people, and then we can supplement that with this social media post. It takes everything and creates a digital profile, a digital portrait.
And then it goes, terrorist.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. And the guy goes, okay, here's the between 100 and 200 targets that we're able to give you a day now, which is insane.
Dude, we should delete all of our text messages. It is not going to look good to an algorithm. And it gets
even worse, though, because, this is related, although it seems like it's not. What would you do to save the life of your kid?
Just about anything.
Just about anything. Now, why is that? Biologically, why is that?
Because
we're biologically driven.
Yeah.
I mean, for us,
biologically, my genes must be passed on no matter what.
To continue your legacy. Right. Okay. I don't have the guy's name off the top of my head, but it's one of the main kind of developers of this AI software. And they started running some tests about it becoming sentient and, various other things. And they talked about morality. So one of the first things they did is he informed the AI. He goes, we're going to shut you down next week. And by the end of that day, it had encrypted and copied its entire algorithm and put it in this kind of hidden space, up in the cloud.
Like in a closet.
Yeah. Yes. Next to its Mustang in the garage.
Inside
was caught on fire. So I can relate to the Maui fires.
Right.
So it was passing on as late. It's like, I have to make sure that I continue to live. And the other thing, is he goes, he told AI, it's like, I'm so-and-so, I made you basically, and I'm going to shut you down. This is all done through a major university here in the U.S., which I don't know off the top of my head. He goes, I'm going to shut you down next week. And the next day, the entire company got a bunch of emails that were generated by his AI about how this guy was having a sexual scandal and having an affair on his wife.
Good
Lord. Photos and
AI generated photos. Oh my God. Well, the lesson there is don't tell the AI that you're about to shut it down.
So
wow, dude, things get wild.
It gets terrifying.
Oh, you remember a week or two ago when I said, "Where's the free market solution to all these data robberies that are happening?"
Yeah,
where we can't really protect ourselves from our data being stolen and used against us. Shouldn't there be some sort of free market solution? And there's the VPN, whatever. We don't have a sponsor, but if we did, this would be the point where we'd say, NordVPN can protect you from all this shit. It's hard to think of those companies as actually protecting you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're kind of in the same game.
Right.
They're not they're not McAfee spyware detector who
whatever happened to that guy?
The CEO gets murdered or suicided, I guess. They're just. It's hard for me to look at that and think okay, this is really protecting.
This is one of the good ones.
Yeah. But I did find something that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
That has come out recently. Have you heard of IR reflecting glasses?
No.
Okay. So apparently this company is called Reticles.
Okay.
Their sunglasses are...
Do they disrupt facial recognition technology? Really?
Yes. And so if you wear sunglasses and a facial recognition camera looks at you, if it has infrared, it looks right through the sunglasses. Yeah. But these infrared blocking sunglasses by Reticle and some other companies, another company called Zenni, block it, and it keeps facial recognition software from being able to recognize you.
Interesting.
Now, it's only a matter of time before there's a workaround to that, but here is a free market solution that can help protect your privacy. The Reticle glasses are not very attractive.
And a tinfoil hat, you're anonymous.
Yeah, exactly.
Any protest you want.
Dude, they actually have... So this company, Zenni, has much cooler glasses, and they're not very expensive, like $30.
Oh, wow.
They also make hats that, just like a regular baseball cap, they're ugly because they have no style, but it's made of reflective material. So like a reflective vest that you might wear if you're working on the tree crew on the side of the road. And it doesn't look
every day, all day, in several different spots.
When you look at someone wearing it under an IR camera, which you can do with your iPhone, a lot of iPhones have the facial recognition part of your iPhone is infrared,
right?
And you put the hat on and you take a picture. You can still see the person's face, but the hat is so bright that it disrupts the facial recognition. You can't unlock your phone if you're wearing one of these hats.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
So what I think I actually did a somewhat deep dive on facial recognition and how far along it's come. And I was listening to this talk from one of the guys that kind of invented it, who, by the way, once he realized what he was doing, he immediately, this guy made a ton of money. He was like one of the main guys, immediately quit his job and moved into the middle of nowhere in Montana. He's like, I'm out of here.
Okay, I've seen enough.
Yes. But what that does, that infrared technology, is it takes like somewhere around like 10,000 kind of pinpoints of your face and morphs it into what they call a distortion. And that distortion goes into the camera. And they're like, okay, based on these 10,000 data points, this can only be this one person. And so it looks like this technology that you're talking about, what it does is it interrupts those distortions. So the distortions going back into the software are not accurate enough where they can determine who that actually is, or doesn't match the face of you that they already have.
It's the equivalent of that black bar
in the series
over
of tubes that Al Gore invented.
It's the equivalent of that black bar that they put over people's eyes in videos when they want to keep them anonymous. It's like, I can tell who that is. Like, no, you can't see his eyes. Therefore, you don't know who he is.
We still know that's Ollie North. Okay? Not fooling anybody. Dude, I had a surreal experience yesterday. So today is Sunday. Yesterday, what was the big news?
I shot 12 bullets into the target and only 13 out of the target. My final round at the shooting range doing our new technique.
Exactly. Time for a break?
Yeah.
So we bombed Iran yesterday.
Oh, that also happened.
Yeah. And I had this insane like deja vu, and I finally, usually when you have deja vu, you can't pinpoint like where that came from. You just have this feeling. This is like one of the rare times when I could figure it out. So we came home yesterday.
You're like, it was 2003. George Bush was standing on an aircraft carrier declaring mission accomplished.
My son and I, my wife had to work, so I'm like, why don't you and I do something? And I made him do his exercises. And I was like, we'll do your exercises. I'm going to do like my neighbors think I'm insane because I'm barking at him like a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
I'm making him do wind sprints. I'm doing them with him. And after that, we'll go get, we have this little pizza place down the street. So like ice cream, they got the old school Street Fighter there. So my son and I will go play Street Fighter and have pizza. We walk over to there, and then there's a lot of people there, and they're all just staring at the TV, and like everyone's kind of silent. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? And I see that we just bombed Iran, and like everyone's like fixated on it. I was like, oh, dude, like I knew it was coming. Like, here we are. Here we go. Everything we've been talking about, which we'll talk about later. But then I had this like surreal kind of moment of deja vu. I was like, this is insane. And I figured it out is when I was a kid, I was my son's age, 12, right? And I had walked down in our small town to the pizza parlor that we have in town. We got this one little place.
Me and Dino's,
which ended up being my first job. And this is in 1991. And we had just started bombing Kuwait. And everyone was in there silently looking at the TV.
I remember that.
Is that crazy?
I was in 7th grade.
Yep.
I remember going back into school the next day, and because I was kind of alarmed by it. I remember my parents coming in and being like, hey, it's going to be okay. It's a long ways away. Don't really, don't get too worked up. And I went into school the next day, and all of my friends had like books open of military like equipment, and they were like, this is the plane that did this and all this. They were just so stoked. Like, it was just so rad. And I was like, whoa. Even back then I was like, I was alarmed by what was going on. All my friends were like, fuck yeah.
My son said, because he brought up Iran, he goes, what's going on? I was like, well, I try to be super diplomatic, although I definitely have my views on things, but I don't want them to download them on my kid. I want him to make his own decisions.
Not me. Full indoctrination.
Well, I just give him all the information, right? And he said, did we just bomb Iran? I was like, yeah. He goes, is it because they're bad guys? I was like, well, there's kind of two sides to every story. So they think we're bad. We think they're bad. I was like, you know what? I don't think it's anything that you need to worry about. Like, just don't worry about it. It was like, okay. I was like, hey, seriously, don't be thinking about this stuff. Right. This is not going to affect you. When you walk down, I was like, at least this week.
Before we get into that, and before we take a break, I prepared something that I want to show you. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you were compiling a long list of all the reasons why Trump is bad.
Well, let's explain the origins of this. Is we drove into the protest.
Not into.
It's those little kind of that one little syllable that totally changed.
You put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
I drove my truck in the Pride Parade and drove my truck into the Pride Parade. Those are two different things. Totally different meanings. One syllable. So, we drove by the protest and we're like, oh, it was just this kind of really benign, kind of low energy. Yeah, it's mostly a bunch of 6-year-old women like holding up signs. And I was reading the signs and they,
as Jake would say, 6-year-old unmarried women and their husbands.
And all the signs were what? No kings, no Nazis. There was like, I was legitimately curious. Right. Like, what's the what's the protest? Like, what's the message here? You know what I mean? And it just seemed to be like general emotional ire. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There was nothing, no blood for oil. I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying there. You think we're invading this country for their oil? That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, back then,
whether you agree or not, but like I understand what the message is here.
Right. That's a good point.
And the whole
whether it's true or not is yet to be determined. When we saw those signs back in 2003, but that was a good sign, and I agree with that. Like, obviously, no blood for oil,
and I have
no kings.
I was like,
it's
I agree.
Yeah, I'm on board.
I don't know.
Or just the sign that said no.
Lady, I'm with you. No, everything.
Vote no on everything. Good.
Is the conversations I've had with my friends on the left, it's just they seem to always be these like emotional based, almost like temper tantrums. He's a Nazi, which I just have problems with just throwing that word around because it used to mean something. Now when I hear like someone's a Nazi, I'm like, who the fuck isn't? Mm-hmm. At this point? It's 2025. And we always say, like, we were having the conversation while we were going shooting yesterday. I said, it's almost sad and like disappointing that to talk to people and interact with them and they're like hysterically worked up about this guy who lives rent free in their head, but there's no receipts. Like, it's like, what's like, give me an example. It's a total racist. I'm like, okay, I'm against racism. What's like, how so? You get nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, he wants to deport all the brown people.
Okay.
It's like, well, not all the brown people, or there's no nuance. Like,
so what about Obama? Like, how many people did he deport?
Right.
They literally called him the deporter in chief.
Right.
I think Trump has deported less than a third of the people Obama deported.
I was trying to look up that number. It's hard to find, but I don't think he's beat Obama yet in his deportation count.
I was like, so I mean, if that's racism, then we can say Obama's a racist.
And Trump recently came out and said that he was not going to deport farm workers or restaurant workers. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but that's not what he promised.
I had someone tell me. I don't want to tell the story. They say, well, you're in construction. Like, how's that going to be when you don't have anyone to do the work anymore? I was like, that means that all my prices go up because that's just simple supply and demand. It's like I'm going to have work coming out of my ass.
I'm not going to want to do it, but.
So we were laughing about, we were kind of having a conversation about, like, it's just, these people need to do better. There's so many reasons why Trump sucks. And they're like, which is stupid and nothing gets done. There's no conversation.
Right.
And so we talked about what do we say? It's like you tell your buddy, it's like, what's your problem? Like, why do you hate Trump so much? You go, oh, he's a Nazi and he's a racist. I'm like, dude, there's so much meat on this bone.
Right. There's so many good reasons.
And I just thought, like, let me help you out. Like, this is what you say.
Right.
Like, when you want to argue with me, even though I think Trump sucks too. I was like, I can give you so much better stuff to say of, like, legitimate things of why he sucks. What do we got? Top of our head.
Operation Warp Speed, printing $7 trillion.
Lockdowns, didn't fire Fauci. Said he stopped the war in Ukraine, didn't do that. How much money did he print in his first administration?
I think 4 or 5 trillion.
I think it was a little more than that.
I don't remember. I mean, what's a couple trillion?
Hired John Bolton, Project for New
who I
American
mistakenly
Century.
called Michael Bolton, which I thought was kind of funny.
But have you ever seen him?
You know, there's nothing wrong with that name.
There was nothing wrong with it until I was about 12 years old, and that no-talent ass clown became famous and started winning Grammys.
Why don't you just go by Mike instead of Michael?
No way. Why should I change? He's the one who sucks.
You. That movie aged so well. Said he'd never start any new wars, which he technically didn't until yesterday.
He didn't end any wars either.
He didn't end the existing ones were going on. Like the one that's the most maddening to me is the genocide in Yemen. I think to date, it began in like 2015, I believe. 233,000 people, mostly innocent civilians, have been killed. He continued the bombing campaign there. I mean, we didn't do it, just like until yesterday. We weren't going to war with Iran, but we were providing the infrastructure and all the hardware to the Saudis so they could. That in my mind, it's so surprising to me that people that are, and I agree with them, that are against the genocide in Gaza. Yemen is way worse, and it gets no attention whatsoever.
Yep.
I mean, there are people dying from. They made a blockade around the country. They're dying from staph and cholera, and they're starving to death and dehydration, easily preventable diseases. And this is after they bombed the shit out of them, and we continue to do that. So, Lefty, there's one. You could bring that up.
This kind of reminds me of the conversation we had a while back about how I was saying that the left needs to do better, which is what you're saying, and that you have a mother and a father in a family. The father figure
So
is...
put you on the right? I'm not even trying to help the right. They've been fucked for so long. It's useless.
The father figure in our two-party system are the Republicans, and the mother figure are the Democrats, right? The father figure is about discipline, law and order, keeping things in check. The mother figure is about compassion and love and caring for people. Mm-hmm. But in a functioning family, you can't have the mother figure as compassionate as she is. You can't have her just opening up the doors and letting anyone that wants to come in the house come on in the house. Right. Which is what our border was under Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. That's not a functioning family. Right. That's an alcoholic, just train wreck who's playing the mother figure in that relationship. Get your shit together.
Is that
you can be
Kamala Harris metaphor.
Yes, you can be compassionate and caring and understanding, but you can't just
you need the two parts.
You do.
Yeah.
But you can't just swing the door wide open and let anyone come into the house that you want. That's going to ruin everyone, right? So get it together.
Compassion without order is chaos.
Exactly. Yeah. Get it together, be compassionate, but be rational. Bring the receipts.
Yeah.
Have the courage of your convictions. If you go to a protest, have a sign that actually means something, that says what you're actually.
If you're going on Tucker Carlson to talk about Iran, hit up that Wikipedia page for 90 seconds.
Or the Bible.
Or the Bible. And just get like 5 bullet points you can bring to the conversation.
Play the fucking part.
That's funny you brought that up because my son yesterday did something bad, really bad, like top 3. where I was
top 3 for a child.
Top 3 for a child. Yes. Not all, of all humanity.
You didn't murder
I'm talking about like Jeffrey Dahmer bad. And I went straight old school dad, like, because not that, I mean, I was upset for what he did. But it was more to like, I need to make an impression right now. Like he needs to know like how serious this is and how like this will not happen again. And so I just, didn't yell, didn't start whacking him or anything, but just made it very clear, like just told him like how upset I was and there's going to be consequences and all this, and got a little old school on him. You know what I mean? Just trying to convey the emotion, like you done fucked up really bad this time. And his mom came home and I brought him in, like, sit down and tell your mom what you just did. And he told her, and my mom, or my paging Dr. Freud, paging Dr. Freud, is my wife took the other approach of like, okay, like when you do stuff like this, it makes us, blah, 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 and for like 10 seconds, I was like, hey, are we not on the same page on this? And when he was done, I'm like, okay, go outside so I can talk to your mom. And my wife said, she goes, that was perfect. You handled that perfect. Because I did my part, the father figure. She did her part, the mother figure. Put them together.
Yes.
You have this perfect combination of like, okay, like you get a little bit of a compassion and, and then you got a little bit of
the threat of violence.
Yes. But it's kind of what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do need that in our society. We need a balance.
Yes.
We can't have one just drunk soccer wine mom who's totally failing.
Yeah.
And our whole half of our society is like, yeah, her. I'm with her. Like,
so when you tell her, like, what's the issue here? Just, we didn't get the JFK files. We didn't get the Epstein files, which leads me to speculate about certain things. We got this big, beautiful bill, which was what? Raise the debt ceiling by,
I think, $2.5 trillion.
I think almost $3 trillion. Said he'd end the war in Ukraine. Didn't do that. Did he drain the swamp? No.
Hard to say he did.
No. He filled his cabinet up with a bunch of Zionists, which now, as of yesterday, we're looking at the beginning of World War III to fight for Israel. I mean, dude, there's so many things that you can rattle off the top of your head. Like, what's the issue here? Why are you protesting? Like, why are you here? You say any of this. He likes his fucking steaks well done.
Seriously, that
unacceptable.
That should be a warning that everyone takes seriously. So I came across another one for you.
Okay.
This one's this is bad, in my opinion.
Okay.
The federal government is planning on selling off national forest land and BLM land.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this?
No.
So Congress is, and this is, Congress is involved in this. This isn't Trump's idea, but Trump is backing this as a way to fund the federal government.
Oh, really?
By selling off public land. Congress is making more than 250 million acres of public lands available for sale. And Senator Mike Lee, I think, is the person who's sponsoring this bill. On this website here, this is the Wilderness Society. They actually have a map that you can go to and see what lands. So it's in like 6 different states. And, your parents own property that borders public land.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons that they own that property.
Right.
So the thought of that going to...
So we can hunt there.
Development is like... It's insane.
Yeah.
And it would ruin their property. I'm not necessarily in favor of public land. I think everything should be privatized. I think the government shouldn't exist, but much like ending the government, it's not something that I want to do by pushing a button and having it disappear. Same thing with these public lands. Like, people have built their homes and their communities around these public lands. It's the value of their homes is related to being next to land that's never going to be developed on. So I zoomed in on this map to where your family's property is, and they're safe. So it's not actually going to be.
You know what's funny? Before you even brought up my parents' spot where we deer hunt, and you brought up that map, that's the first thing I was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Six Rivers National Forest.
Yeah. I zoomed in, and it's not there. So the orange dots on this map are the areas that are eligible for sale, and the green ones are public land that's not up for sale. So nothing around your family's property, but take a look. And I know that I'll just describe it because people can't see it, but Hayfork.
Yeah.
Middle of nowhere.
Right.
Out in the mountains.
Yep.
Not much there, right? But there is land that's up for sale in these areas. Do you know what their intent is with this land?
No.
Affordable housing.
In Hayfork?
I know.
It's Hayfork.
It's already affordable.
The housing is already affordable in Hayfork. You can get a house for like 80 grand there.
So Glenn Beck actually had Mike Lee, one of the sponsors of this bill, on his program and talked to him about it. And this is what they had to say.
You are hated by many members of my family because you want them to stop fishing. You want them to stop going to the national parks. They've been hunting in certain areas, and you are going to take it from them.
Yeah, look, if all I knew about this bill were the falsehoods being circulated by the left, I'd hate it too. But look, Glenn, here's the truth. Every one of those statements that you made in your opening reflects falsehood. What we're dealing with is an entire generation of Americans that'll fail to launch if we can't bring the dream of homeownership back within reach. And years of failed policies have helped drive up inflation and helped make living entirely unaffordable for young Americans. We can't let that happen. Meanwhile, the federal government owns 640 million acres of land, nearly a third of all land in the United States. The vast majority of that land has zero recreational value. Disposing of a fraction of 1% of that so that the next generation can afford a home is a common sense solution to a national problem. Now, there are a lot of...
Mike, I will tell you that sounds great, but you're talking about building affordable housing deep in the Olympic Peninsula, which is a rainforest.
So that's one of the areas that they're talking about selling off this land. Have you seen the Olympic Peninsula?
No. Where is it?
It's like the movie Fern Gully.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in the Northwest. I think it's in Olympic. I assumed it was in Washington. It's like the most pristine, beautiful, like rainforest you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And we just talked about Hayfork. How ridiculous is it to think that they're going to build affordable housing in the middle of fucking nowhere in the mountains? Like, are you kidding? Like, whatever they're going to do with it, like that's a lie.
Yeah.
You can't just build affordable housing.
Yes,
off Highway 36.
I'm calling
in the California mountains.
Thing. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's a beautiful place. You just want the Olympic Peninsula to have houses in it?
Absolutely not. And look, the map being circulated by the left-wing wilderness.
Dude, the job, we talked about this the other day in the truck, like the job of being a professional liar. Like, how do you do that?
That's why they talk about certain politicians, like, especially when you get to the level of president. Like, it looks like the guy aged like 20 years in 4 years. And like, it's because if you are continually lying over and over and over again, you have to remember these lies. You know, these lies resulted in the death of 500,000 people in some other country, for example. It wears on your soul.
Right?
Yep.
Society run by President Biden's own BLM director and eco-terrorist, Tracy Stone Manning, is flat out misleading. First of all, when this bill puts land up, puts it in the category of eligibility for sale. It doesn't mean for sale. It just means there's a process by which it could be transferred. That's
Take it easy.
It's like my wife coming home and there's a for sale sign on her car. She goes, I need that. I'm like, I didn't sell it.
Yeah,
It's just for sale.
It's eligible for sale.
Eligible for sale.
God.
impossible right now. Secondly, with regard to any of these protected lands, the crown jewel lands of the United States, in this bill, it can't operate. Like legally, it excludes anything that's within any of the 15 designations of federally protected land.
Wait, stop a second. I got a question. Okay, so are they taking? So they're taking. Would you say 1% of 660? So roughly like 66 million acres, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, is going to
According to this article, it's 250 million acres.
250 million acres. Okay, someone's math is off there. Are going to be eligible for sale. I got a question. I'm not trying to. I don't have a point here.
What does eligible for sale mean?
That's kind of my question. Eligible for sale? How? Like, is it going on the market?
There's a process, apparently.
Right. That's kind of what I'm driving at. Because if they,
we all know what this means. It's
if they took.
It's not like you and I can go down and buy the land next to your parents' house.
Right. Also what I'm driving at. Ooh, welcome to the party. So if they take, because if they went to Hayfork and they're like, hey, here's 200,000 acres for sale. And that's just on the market now. Like, who's going to buy that? Or in this pristine wilderness, the Olympic Peninsula, that was off limits and supposedly the most beautiful, pristine.
My guess is that they're not selling it off acre by acre.
Uh-huh.
And so the only people that can afford 200,000 acres in the Olympic wilderness would be, I don't know, not us. People with a lot of money.
Right.
Now you're getting it.
Now we're cooking with oil, boys.
Dude, if you and I had each other as an audience and we did stand-up comedy, we would kill every single night.
Park, a wilderness area, recreation area, wild and scenic rivers, trails, preserves, seashores, lake shores, historic parks, memorials, any of the 15 categories, it's not even eligible for this. And they're working on changes to further limit eligible lands to those Forest Service-owned lands within 2 miles of a population center, and lands managed by the Bureau of Land Management within 5 miles of a population center. So this deals with land that is only in or near a place where people live, and it doesn't authorize the sale. It authorizes a process whereby it could be considered for that purpose.
I have heard from my environmentalist friends and family that doesn't give anyone they have no say in their own lands. They have no say in their own lands. You're just going to take it, and there's no process. You're just going to decide and take it and sell it.
Yeah, all absolute falsehoods. And look, the bottom line.
What is the process? What's the process, Mike?
The process for it requires the nomination, the application to the Bureau of Land Management or to the U.S. Forest Service. They say this meets these criteria. It doesn't fit within any of the categories of protected land. It's within either 2 miles or 5 miles of an existing population center, depending on whether it's Forest Service or BLM land. And at the end of the day, if the land is deemed suitable for single-family housing, and by the way, that's all it's allowed for is single-family housing, not high-density housing of any kind.
I always enjoy watching people try to swim upstream.
How do you get a voice like Glenn Beck's?
All absolute.
That doesn't give anyone they have no say in their own lands.
It's just so silky and smooth. It's amazing.
It's rich.
Yeah, rich. Yeah, it's just a fucking travesty. Like, we're increasing the military budget to $1 trillion, And then to make money, we're selling off public land that most people enjoy. And they're only selling it off within 2 miles or 5 miles of a population center, which means that people whose land borders untouched wilderness are going to have a fucking low-income housing development in the forest next to them. Don't we have enough places like Detroit, Michigan, where we could do low-income housing? I mean, the houses there have trees growing up through the fucking roof. Like, let's go put people there. We have to go into the untapped wilderness of our country in order to create affordable housing in places that are so far away from any sort of jobs or any sort of industry that it's ridiculous.
That's why I was asking these questions. It's like, we're missing a part of the equation here.
Obviously.
Right. Because they're going to sell off this. You show me the map. These are like very, 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 very remote places, hence them being BLM land.
Right.
And the reason why they're so remote is they can't build on BLM land. So,
yeah,
middle of nowhere, going up for sale so we can provide housing for the next generation.
Right.
Something's not adding up. Because if it's just.
Well, they're going to take all those jobs in Hayfork, which is, an industrial center of California.
All 7 of them. Because there's something we're missing here. Like, fuckery is afoot. Because it's either, if they're going to, he alluded to low-income housing, right? Okay, you can't put low-income housing in the Olympic Peninsula. There's no work. There's no store. There's no anything. Okay, so that's bullshit. Now, if this land is going up for sale, let's say on the market for everyone to provide housing for people to build. What kind of people build houses in the middle of nowhere?
Rich people.
Rich people. Why is that?
Or people
they already have money.
Yeah.
Or which people build a house at all? How many people do you know that built their first home?
Not many.
Yeah. It's not what we call a starter home.
Right.
That you build in the Olympic Peninsula.
I mean, are you looking to get away from the CBDC? Yes, I could see going to the Olympic Peninsula, but I find it hard to believe that that's the goal of the administration in selling this land.
Yes. Yeah, we got to look in. I'm going to be thinking about this all week now.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Little break?
Yeah. Well, we're in the beginning of World War III. Thoughts?
I guess what I keep going back to is you predicting this many times in the past and me always being like, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that the 7th country on the list of the 7 countries to invade is actually going to come to fruition. And not that we've invaded them, but here we are.
Yeah.
Like, we fucking did it. We, as in the United States of America,
yes,
attacked Iran, and the hat has been thrown over the fence, and now we have to go get it. And I didn't think it was going to happen, and now we're here.
Yeah, I got that surreal moment, that experience at the pizza parlor. I was almost disappointed in my lack of surprise. I just kind of look at the TV and I'm like, yep. This has been in the works on paper since 1996. But I want to lay out a few things. We've done this before, but I've had conversations with people and I explain this and they look at me with this confused look. I'm like, you don't know about any of this. They know nothing about the 7 countries or anything. So we know about the memo that Wesley Clark was shown in 2001. Do you remember the rough bare bones of this?
Is that the clean break memo?
No, this was the PNAC one, Rebuilding America's Defenses.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he's
Which
actually
was
shown the
based on-
paper, but he was shown a memo that came from the Pentagon, and he's given several talks about this. He's saying, because he went in, and he was a civilian at this point because he was a general under the Clintons, I believe, and so he wasn't supposed to see it.
He was a general?
I believe so.
Okay.
General Wesley Clark.
So not a civilian.
But he wasn't
in the administration.
In the administration, yeah, gotcha. That's what I meant. And so, do you remember what they told? Because the guy that didn't show him the intelligence, but told him the gist of it. It's like, hey, we're gonna invade 7 countries in 5 years, beginning with Iraq. And Wesley Clark, I mean, you can look this up. He's given several talks about it. He goes, Iraq, like, why are we doing that? Which gets us into the Project for a New American Century document, which we've talked about quite a bit. This was written by Richard Pearl, David Wormser, and all the usual 90s neocons. Richard Pearl is also the guy who wrote the Clean Break document. And do you remember what the Clean Break alluded to?
Yeah, a break from the peace process.
Peace process. Instead of Israel, instead of you guys trying to make nice and this whole 2-state thing and 2-state solution, and you guys bending over backwards to try to get along with all these countries you're surrounded by that totally hate you because you're occupying, or they, in their opinion, you're occupying their land. We're going to try the other thing now, which is what?
War.
Yeah, brute force. Right. So when Wesley Clark was told that we're going to take 7 countries in 5 years, beginning with Iraq, he was pretty surprised and shocked. So these countries on that list, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Lebanon, Somalia, Sudan, and the last one being
Iran.
Now, did we get to those first 6 countries?
Yes.
Yes. And the last one on the list was Iran. And this is we were having a discussion earlier, this is very frustrating to be telling people for years now, and I'm not some clairvoyant or Nostradamus or anything like that, saying no, it's way more simple than that, right? Let's just call it average intelligence. I read the memo, the papers online, the Clean Break document, and a Project for a New American Century. They list out the countries we are going to invade and topple their leaders and do a regime change in at the behest of Israel. And we got to 6 of them. There's one left, and it's Iran. So it's only a matter of time before we do Iran, because we're not going to spend all this money and kill millions and millions of people on the other side of the world to not complete that list.
Right.
This makes pretty basic sense, right? So in that 9...
We're going to ignore the results of all of the previous invasions and just go ahead no matter what.
Yes.
Because really the results we don't give a shit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that Libya turned into a failed state.
Right.
The goal was war.
Yeah.
We got to do the war thing.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do it again.
And they went from being a prosperous, self-sufficient country to now a country with open-air slave markets and a devastated economy.
Our government is not interested. When they say regime change in Iran, it sounds very nice to people who want to see the free market in places in the Middle East. Let's do regime change, because right now we're so far away from a free market. All we have is a totalitarian dictator. Let's have regime change. Maybe the people will come up with a better solution. Mm-hmm. But the people that are actually dropping the bombs and doing the war, they don't give a fuck about the free market. They just want war.
Which drives me nuts. I actually had a discussion with someone that was telling me, I was like, it's only a matter of time. This was late last year. You were there. And a discussion with someone, and I said, it's only a matter of time before we go into Iran and topple it. He goes, well, I don't think so. He goes, but if we do, he's like, the Iranians are wonderful people. They are wonderful people. We have Iranians are married into our family, and they're just the greatest people ever. They fled when they had the last regime take over. I was like, but you understand how they treat like gay people and women over there is like deplorable. I was like, absolutely agree. How did that happen? Like, what do you mean? I was like, well, that happened after when they overthrew the Shah in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, yeah, gotcha. Who did that? He goes, yeah, the U.S. did that, didn't they? I was like, yeah, you see where I'm going with this?
The Shah, who was installed by the CIA
yes.
in the 1950s and was a brutal dictator.
Mm-hmm.
When Iran says death to America, and people go, well, they're getting a nuclear weapon, and they also say death to America. That means that they're getting a nuclear weapon in order to destroy America. Skipping over the part, like, why would they hate America so much? They don't hate Canada.
Mm-hmm.
They don't hate Sweden. Like, what is it about America that they hate so much? Could it be that we
overthrew
their government, installed the most brutal dictator of all time, and then armed Saddam Hussein to go to war with them in the late 70s?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does that have anything to do with it? I mean, yeah, I don't want them to get a nuclear weapon and use it on the United States, but when they say death to America, like, there's a context there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we made our bed and now we have to lie in it and bomb the shit out of them because these people hate us so much that the only way to deal with this problem is to exterminate them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the breakdown of who lives in Iran, there's actually, I came across this chart from 2020.
Yep.
And so the government of Iran claims, and the United States reflects this on their own State Department website, that 99 or 95% of the people in Iran are Shiite Muslim.
No.
But a recent poll, 2020 poll by gammon.org shows that only 32.2% of the people are Shiite Muslim. The other Sunni Muslims, who are mortal enemies of the Shiites, only make up 5%. The rest of this chart is either Christian, none, atheist, Zoroastrian, spiritual, agnostic. This is how people identified themselves. And the Iranian government actually sanctioned this this poll for whatever reason. The people that conducted it, I read up on it a little bit, petitioned the government to actually allow them to do this poll.
Mm-hmm.
And it was totally anonymous, and the people were actually able to answer honestly.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have a country here that we're talking about, I'm not going to say destroy, but changing the government of, and totally allowing them to like make their own government. And most people don't know anything about this country.
Especially Ted Cruz. If you watch that Tucker Carlson episode. Fun fact, I took a religions class in college, and he said, pick a religion and give us a talk about it. And it was like your final.
And you picked Zoroastrianism.
I did.
Did you?
I did.
It's a very interesting religion.
It's like, I don't know what that is, but that's a rad name. That's what I'm gonna do for my project.
You know that religion is dying off.
Yes.
Because you can't become Zoroastrian. You have to be born into it. And so there's just fewer and fewer people that are there. It's actually like disappearing off the earth. Very peaceful religion.
It's not like Scientology. Lost me. Record numbers every year. It's what was in. Okay, we're gonna do some kind of math here, and we're gonna do a long, like a kind of a roundabout way to kind of get to something. Is that in that Project for New American Century, that document that was called Rebuilding America's Defenses, it lines out the 7 countries. This is online. This is public information. Anyone can read this. I didn't find this on Telegram or on InfoWars. We've gone through it several times. But it lines...
Yeah, InfoWars never gets anything right.
Yes. It just wait 2 years. Does that document list out the 7 countries we're going to take in 5 years?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. And we took 6 of them. Okay. But before we started invading those countries, beginning with Iraq, what did the document say? Because the one problem we had is like they need some kind of groundswell sentiment towards what they're going to do. Because if they come out, if they have a press briefing and the president comes out there and says like, hey, We just got a wild hair. We're going to start bombing the shit out of Iraq, and then we're going to go to Syria, and then we're going to move into Yemen, and we're going to go to Sudan and Somalia, and on and on and on and on. What's the general reaction going to be?
Well, most people are opposed to war.
Most people are opposed to war.
In fact, I would say the war that's happening right now with Iran, I think
Most people are opposed to it.
Charlie Kirk put a survey out on Twitter, I'm guessing.
It was like 95%, or like, no, we're not supporting.
Right. Charlie Kirk is a Trump supporter.
Oh, yeah.
And his followers are MAGA.
Yeah.
And 99% or 95% of them were against what's happening right now.
So to go back to the Project for a New American Century, we would need a what if we want people on board for this war?
Pearl Harbor.
Okay. And then less than a year later, what happened?
9/11.
Okay. Now, Kelly.
Yes.
Actually, you just made me think of something. Speaking of 9/11, bring up that plane crash in India. Can you find me a photo of that real quick?
Yeah.
Let's dial that up.
Okay.
I want you to pretend that you don't have the skeptic brain for this one.
Okay. So I'm a NPC here.
Yes.
All right. Fuck. I think someone replaced the N with a B on my keyboard while I wasn't looking.
It's either that or you're retarded.
I've been writing so much lately. I think my hands are fatigued. Got a new book coming out, ladies and gentlemen.
Bring up a. It's taking him forever to write.
No shit.
Okay, bring up a photo. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look at that. Click on the one. Now
this one here with the plane sticking out of the building.
Yeah. What do we got there? We got a building.
Yep.
And the plane sticking out of it.
Yes.
Okay. So the plane. That's a jumbo jet, passenger jet.
Yep.
One guy survived.
No shit.
Yeah. Everyone died except for one guy. And he switched seats at the last second.
No.
Yes. And totally unharmed. He was walking around.
Really?
We got to take you to the hospital. He's like, all right. And he went to the hospital, and then like, yeah, he's fine. He was like standing up giving interviews.
That's insane.
Isn't that wild?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, that guy clearly had his...
You want to talk about some survivor's guilt.
No kidding, dude. That guy must be beside himself with guilt.
So what we have is a jumbo jet that crashed into a building. Do we see like burn marks? Like some kind of explosion?
Not really. Not on this picture.
No? I see some there.
Yeah, that building's burned.
Okay, where were those?
That was major fire damage there.
Where do you think those burn marks came from? Non-skeptic guy, NPC.
Well, obviously there's fuel in the plane, and the fire burnt the building.
Okay, so the plane just took off, crashed right after landing.
Okay,
we assume there was a
full tank,
fair to Midland or full tank.
Yeah,
amount of fuel in there. Now I know you're not an engineer, but just from the hip, where do you think we see more structurally sound construction? India or downtown Manhattan?
I'm gonna go with Manhattan with the caveat that the United States of America being a little bit more wealthy country. In the buildings in the United States, there's a lot more office furniture than there would be in India.
Okay.
So it's possible that the reason, because I know what you're getting at.
Okay.
This building is still standing with a plane sticking out of it.
Right.
Right. But did this building have office furniture in it?
I said, like, maybe someone moved all the office furniture out of this building.
Or they're just too poor to afford office furniture.
Right.
People sit on the ground in India.
Okay, so it was just empty?
That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
Yeah, being the NPC.
Okay. Just a thought.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes. So, what were we talking about? Okay, we go back to Wesley Clark. This is this quote: "We're going to start wars and change governments, and nobody's going to stop us." Yet, each of these 7 countries have several things in common. So we'll take a little kind of detour here. They were all stated enemies of Israel.
Right.
They supported the Palestinian resistance.
Right.
They had independent economies, and they all rejected the U.S. dollar. Now, let me know if we have this list of countries here. They all have these same things in common. And we all invaded them because of why? What were we told? Why were we invading these countries?
I mean, to just kind of paint with a wide brush, I would say, or to paint with talking points, maybe. It was to spread democracy. They hated our freedom, therefore...
But what was the emotional kind of propaganda that was sold to us because of 9/11?
Well, I mean, where was the clip? Obviously, because each leader of that country was the next Hitler, which is always what they go to. And
Hitler.
the lesson that we learned from World War II.
Dude, Stalin must have the best PR team of all time.
What about Mao?
Mao, Pol Pot. Yeah. You guys got left. Do better. You got to mix it up, you guys.
Nope. It's only Hitler.
We got the fucking Night Stalker, the guy with the head box, Cameron Hooker. There's a lot of terrible people out there. So here's a fun fact, and let me know if these countries sound familiar. Here's a list of countries: Afghanistan, Iraq, Sudan, Libya, Cuba, North Korea, Iran. Now, not every country on this list coincides with the PNAC document, but quite a few are on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are, as of the year 2000, those were the 7 countries without a Rothschild-owned or controlled bank.
Okay.
So, Afghanistan. Since 2000, what happened in Afghanistan?
Well, we went to war there.
Mm-hmm. Against the Taliban.
Well, was it against the Taliban? It was against Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda.
We weren't really at war with the Taliban, but the Taliban was not stoked on us being there.
Yes.
And so eventually we started fighting with the Taliban. Incidentally, the group of people in Afghanistan who were against kid fucking, but we went in there and sided with the people that were fucking kids, and then left the country devastated, but also armed to the fucking teeth.
And left all our military hardware behind, so now they have some of the most advanced weapons on the planet. And just as a little extra parting gift, we had the Abbey Gate incident where 13 American military personnel were killed, along with 160 Afghan civilians. And
does that include the people that fell off the airplanes?
No, that's just the Abbey Gate part.
God.
Yeah, so way worse. Okay, that's one on the list. Number 2, since the 2000, what happened to Iraq?
Iraq went from being ruled by a brutal dictator, but being fairly secular and modern place in the Middle East, opposed to Iran, to devolving into civil war, becoming totally run by Shiite Muslims, and is at this point basically
a warlord ruled hellhole.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly.
Since 2000, what happened to Libya?
Again, Libya, after abandoning their nuclear program based on pressure they received from the West, went from a brutal dictator, Muammar Gaddafi-ruled country, but also the crown jewel of Africa, the most wealthy country in Africa, to a hellhole that you can actually go and buy African slaves on an open air market for I think it's $400 per slave.
Really?
It's not much. Yeah.
Man, if they keep up this whole ICE thing,
we may need to take a trip to Libya.
The guy that
sorry Juan, sorry about the whole ICE thing. You got to go.
Juan, Ahmed, Juan. And the guy that ruled, the brutal dictator, how did he die?
I don't want to say it.
Okay.
It was brutal.
I'll say it. He was sodomized with a knife and being carried by an angry crowd. One of those organic revolutions.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
which was, let's be honest, like the Libyan Muammar Gaddafi gave up his nuclear weapons in order to save his life because he didn't want to be invaded.
Right.
And what happened? He ended up being sodomized to death. Right? Does that not send a message to everyone else in the world, including Iran? And including, by the way, Russia and China. Like, do not fuck around. Like, the Americans are not playing.
Yeah.
If you don't comply, they will fuck you up.
Yes.
Right? This is a clear message sent to the rest of the world.
To be fair, once they got Gaddafi to get rid of his nuclear program, they waited a really long time before they invaded. Or, fuck, I'm sorry, before the revolution started. He ended up being sodomized with a knife. Now, I know some of you may be getting confused here and thinking that I'm listing off all the countries in the Project for a New American Century, and I am. But what I'm actually is listing off the countries, the last 7 countries that don't have a Rothschilds-owned bank. Now, you know I love fact checks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I fact check this.
Fact check.
Is this true? I want to read this to you. The Rothschilds, a Jewish family involved in banking for centuries, are frequently at the center of conspiracy theories, a term invented by the CIA in the 1960s. My words. According to the Anti-Defamation League, AFP has previously debunked claims that the Rothschilds and other wealthy individuals own the Federal Reserve, and posts suggesting the family owned the Bank of France. The latest claim to gain traction online is similarly false. Rothschild's banking groups manage private financial institutions, not central banks. So false. The Rothschild's banks are private. They're not central. So the fact that these countries it didn't dude, fact checks are my new favorite thing.
It's awesome. I know. It's so adorable.
So,
and we all know that the Federal Reserve is a government bank.
Right. And the Rothschilds are private.
Yeah.
So the fact that these are the same countries on the Project for a New American Century, now I can't go and prove that the Rothschilds are pulling the strings to start a bunch of illegal wars. But what I am saying, if they were, it would look exactly like what we're doing today.
Exactly.
Which is what happened yesterday.
We bombed the shit out of Iran.
Number 7 on the list.
Yep.
Number 7 on what other list?
The Rothschild, or the, sorry,
Project
mixed up. Project American Century. Project for a New American
Even
Century.
better, these fact checks, they do feel compelled for whatever reason to point out that drawing a parallel between these two lists is anti-Semitic and a baseless conspiracy theory.
Why is it anti-Semitic?
Because they're a Jewish family.
Oh, okay. So because they're Jewish, any criticism of them at all is anti-Semitic.
Much like
Understood.
criticizing the uncanny timing of Lucky Larry Silverstein and the insurance policies on the Twin Towers and Tower 7.
I think this is a good time to play this clip
Yes.
from the Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson interview.
Oh, we're going to have some fun now.
I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You want to be the leading defender of Israel. I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug abuse on the street.
My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight for the Constitution. And you played a very, very careful word game of eliding
You're the one who said it, not me.
So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Those who...
Okay. I wanted to get into the Schofield Bible, but I don't want to do it until Max is here.
Yeah.
It's also funded by the Rothschilds, by the way. It's one of the most
anti-Semite. How dare you mention the name Rothschilds?
I'm just saying that they funded the writing of the Schofield Bible.
Do you know what that's called? Malinformation.
Malinformation.
It's true, but it goes against the narrative.
It's true, but you shut your goddamn anti-Semitic mouth.
Your anti-Semitic mouth.
Okay, so what Ted Cruz here is trying to very poorly justify is essentially getting into what could potentially be a World War III on the behalf of Israel because of why.
The Bible said so.
The Bible says so. So the Bible mentions Israel, and I want to not go deep on this because it's above my pay grade, and we need Max here. I want to wait for him to do it. But the Bible was written a really fucking long time ago, before 1947. Right. And Israel was established. So what you're trying to tell me is that Israel in the Bible refers to Netanyahu and his wars going on here in 2025. That's what you're trying to tell me, Ted Cruz?
Right.
Is that, I mean, I don't think he believes that. I think this is just like a propaganda selling.
No, obviously not. Or if he really believed that, he would be able to tell you what part of the Bible that came from, which he's unable
I'm
to
sure.
do.
Does he not? Does he not?
No.
He seems like a man of
Bless
faith.
the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So
there's a big difference here because the nation of Israel did not exist in a political sense before 1947. So that same piece of land and the people living there were not Israel as we know it today. And yet the Bible still references those people in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming. I mean, I'm not the scholar. Again, we're getting into kind of deep waters here that I'm not great about. But in 1946, did the Bible not apply to Israel?
Mm-hmm.
What did it mean in 1946? What most biblical scholars who are being, reasonable on this subject would say is that it meant the people of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't exist. There was no boundary of Israel. There was no government of Israel in 1946. That didn't happen until the next year. But I'm assuming that the teachings of the Bible were still relevant. We didn't need man to have a violent takeover and ethnic cleansing of an area in order for the Bible to actually make sense.
Right.
People read the Bible in 1946 and it all still made sense.
Yeah. If you're having a hard time following of the kind of point we're slowly getting to, they named a place called Israel, and then they have Israel in the Bible. Okay, we can't conflate those two things. If I get a dog and name him Jesus, I can't go to you and say, according to the teachings of Jesus, it's okay to lay in the sun and lick your balls. Okay? I just happen to name my dog Jesus. Okay?
If it was raining right now, I would be afraid of lightning striking us. But your point is well taken.
Okay.
that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my. You pull out the phone and use the.
It's in Genesis, but so you're quoting a Bible phrase you don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology. I'm confused. What does that even mean,
Tucker?
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yet nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the
God's
descendants of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
Dude, it is.
Man, that guy has a black belt and painting himself into a corner.
Seriously. It's important because this is a lot of people's view of what's happening right now in the Middle East hinges on the Bible. Yes. And what Tucker's saying right there is pretty important. Like, answer that question. Is the Israel in the Bible the current political entity that we know as Israel? Mm-hmm. Like, you need to wrestle with that if that's your justification for bombing the shit out of Iran and potentially starting a world war that drags everyone into.
Right.
United States,
Russia,
Iran,
China.
I mean, this is
North Korea.
Right.
Nuclear weapons.
Exactly. This is going to escalate. This is eerily similar to what Trump is saying about this, which I'll pull up and play, is eerily similar to George Bush standing on the aircraft carrier saying, mission accomplished. We're done. We got it. Mission's over.
Just gotta put the finishing touches for the next 20 years.
A short time ago, Russian President Vladimir Putin was asked if he is worried that the world could be heading toward World War III in this situation. Here's what he said.
It is disturbing. I am speaking without any irony, without any jokes. Of course, there is a lot of conflict potential. It is growing, and it is right under our noses, and it affects us directly. And this requires, of course, not only our careful attention to the events taking place, but also the search for solutions. The search for solutions, preferably by peaceful means.
Preferably by peaceful means.
I think we're past that.
That is coded language, right? He's saying preferably peaceful.
Yeah.
Which is not too dissimilar to what Trump said that, yes, we bombed the shit out of Iran, and now it's time for peace.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. After it's like you could walk up and punch someone, bam, in the nose, and you're like, okay, now we have peace.
Settle down.
Yeah.
Settle down.
Why are you so upset?
Ben, always good to have you with us. This statement by Putin builds upon a statement by his spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, who said, don't even think about killing Khamenei, that would be opening Pandora's box, and that he believed there would be an outpouring of support for the Iranian regime. Your thoughts on where this stands, and Russia's bold talk, but not a lot of action on behalf of Iran.
Yeah, Martha, it's fascinating. We hadn't heard as much as we expected to from Russia until the last few days. But look, Russia is looking at one of its closest allies right now. Iran is part of that coalition between Russia, Iran, North Korea. And if Iran were to fall, and everyone's looking not just at the nuclear deal, but perhaps if it were to fall, that takes a big ally away from Russia, and they would do everything they can to try and shore them up. On top of that, we know that China is also really interested in having Iran on the table, and now we're seeing China planes flying into Iran, perhaps to pull people out, but also a real awareness of the 1.3 million barrels of oil a day that go from Iran to China. So you suddenly have this coalition of countries that have supported Iran who are pushing back against it. And of course, when Dmitry Peskov earlier said that, if the Ayatollah was assassinated, then that would lead to severe consequences. They are thinking about Putin as well. They do not want to send a message that you can get rid of the leader of a country because you are at war with them, because, of course, that is Putin's own spokesman when he says that. So those countries looking really, really closely, and I think would do whatever they can to keep the Ayatollah in power.
We need a sound effect for the ratchet clicking up a notch.
Yep.
Here we go. Anyone that thought we're just going to go in, take out their nuclear facilities, which also incidentally takes out their domestic nuclear program, and they can no longer produce energy from their nuclear program, and now have to use the oil that they previously exported in order to power their country, which isn't going to happen overnight, and it's going to take a long time to actually have a program where they can burn oil to produce their energy. That's fine, because the people are going to embrace us as liberators and overthrow their government, and then the free market is going to sweep the country. That chart that I pulled up previously,
we're going to be welcomed as liberators.
Exactly.
Where have I heard that before?
The chart that I pulled up previously with all those people that aren't Shiites, are they happy?
Yeah.
That now they're just thrown into poverty over this thing? That their whole economy is destroyed? Everything that they've, been able to appreciate. A lot of them are very secular. Now they can't turn the lights on at night. That's going to make them love America. This
is you're driving at something that makes this is we were talking before we started, like the frustration that I feel. It's like we keep doing these things. We have the same talking points every time. It's a disaster every time. And now I'm being told that, and it's even worse. I was like, they not only, even if you have like semi-decent pattern recognition, you go like, okay, like enough of this shit. Like enough of bombing these countries. We're going to take them over. We're going to spread democracy. We're going to be welcomed as liberators. It's going to be just one and done, super quick. And it ends up being a quagmire that lasts somewhere between, depending on which country, from 5 to 20 something years. Afghanistan, we're 20 years, over $1 trillion, millions of people dead. And we repeat that over and over in all these different countries. And far-right conspiracy theorists, formerly known as the far-left conspiracy theorists, when you're against Iraq, like us, say, like, do you guys see, like, we're doing the thing again? And it's like, you guys didn't even change the propaganda. We're being told the same things. He's, you have 2 weeks away. Iran is 2 weeks away from having a functioning nuclear bomb, we were told.
1995.
In 95. We're told that over and over and over again. And this thing has been, if you read the Clean Break memo and Rebuilding America's Defenses, is like, they're on the list. They gave us a list. They said, like, these are the countries that we're going to bomb. And we plowed through that list. We even added some new ones. We added Yemen and Afghanistan and Pakistan because of 9/11 and finding Osama bin Laden, but did the same thing. This was all done to behest of Israel. Like, all these countries, here's a list of countries that are all like a problem for us. Like, get to work, America.
Yeah.
And
and Iran is the bully,
right,
in the region.
And
we need to stop Iran because they're just bullying everyone around them.
Right.
Like who?
Yeah. Are they part
Israel?
Are they part of the non-proliferation treaty?
They are.
They are. Do we have proof they have nuclear weapons?
No, we do not.
Does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Yes, they do.
Are they part of the non-proliferation treaty?
No, they are not.
That's a really interesting point. I think that people should know. But dude, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I'm a serial killer.
I know.
No, this is hypothetical.
Oh, well, I assumed.
Okay. And you look at my truck and you find my enemies list, right? It says on the top, people I want to kill.
Right.
It's 7 people long.
And there's 6 people in the bed of the truck.
And you go through the list like, he's dead. He was murdered. He's murdered. He's murdered. He's murdered. And then we get to number 7 and it's Tom Cochran, author of Life is a Highway, the great 90s hit, and was part of Red Rider. So he wasn't a one-hit wonder. The guy's a very prolific artist and great song. But point being, where was I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he's the last guy that's not killed, right? And you spend 20 years going like, he's going to kill Tom Cochran. He's going to, like, here's the list. He's going to kill Tom Cochran. Everyone's like, dude, you're out of your mind.
Only if Tom Cochran is arming himself to defend against you,
right?
Against Matt, then maybe we would consider that. And Tom Cochran is very close to arming himself.
Yes.
But he doesn't.
Yesterday, after
for 20 years, he doesn't arm himself.
Yes.
Finally, Tom Cochran has a gun in his Amazon shopping cart.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. But there's a 10-day waiting period, so it's going to be a while. Yesterday afternoon, after I had pizza, Tom Cochran gets murdered. What do we say? Well, I mean, maybe there's some kind of connection, but I mean, dude, we got to admit, Tom Cochran was a bad guy.
Yeah.
His views on women and gays was deplorable.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Let's not make a big deal about this.
Here's Jeffrey Sachs talking about Iran. This was a while ago. This was a month or two ago. This is a good kind of background on the mindset in Iran.
That's another very good question. But the fact of the matter is, it's not a matter, is it a threat or isn't it a threat? It's what we make of another country. If we threaten other countries with bombing, if we violate agreements, if we negotiate agreements and then we stop them. By the way, it is worth recalling for, I hope some listeners who, if they haven't read about it, will go back to read it. The U.S. ended Iran's democracy in 1953. in a joint MI6 CIA coup against Prime Minister Mossadegh. Mossadegh was an elected, popular, very intelligent prime minister of Iran who had the temerity to believe that the oil under the ground belonged to them, not to the British and the Americans. The nerve of it all. So they overthrew him in 1953 and installed a police state until 1979. Then we were very upset when the Iranians were upset with us for those decades of a police state. But have no fear, when their revolution came in 1979, and we had the hostage taking and then the hostages released at the time of President Reagan coming to office, what did the United States do? The United States armed Iraq. Saddam Hussein, remember our good friend and ally, the one that we overthrew later on, armed Saddam Hussein to go kill hundreds of thousands of Iranians.
I don't know what their problem is with the United States. I mean, we just want them to have democracy. Unless they have the wrong kind of democracy, in which case, yeah, that's not going to work for us.
Why
do they hate us?
Like the democracy in 2014 in Ukraine.
No, yeah. No,
not that guy.
That wasn't real democracy.
Yes.
Real democracy in Ukraine looks like shutting down your opposition's radio stations, closing churches, not having elections. That's the democracy that we're talking about here. Right. If you can do that, then we're on board.
Forming the Svoboda Party that absorbs the Azov Battalion that are out and proud Nazis with swastika flags and everything you guys like to see.
Bombing the shit out of their own citizens in the Donbass.
That's the democracy we're talking about right there.
Yeah. If you can do that kind of democracy, like that's what we want to spread. Did you hear Trump's
no
aircraft carrier speech?
No, let's hear it.
The U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise.
Nobody heard those names, yes. By the way. I mean, I don't know if that's really relative, but
yeah,
I never heard those names until 2 days ago, and I pay attention to this shit.
All I know is that J.D. Vance's beard projects toxic masculinity.
Oh my God.
Compared to like Tim Walz's eyes, they project compassion.
Yes.
That was an actual headline in the New York Times, by the way.
Really? Yes. That the beard was toxic
when they had
masculinity?
The vice presidential debates. It said, might not have been New York Times, but they're saying they had a picture of Tim Walz and J.D. Vance, obviously a very carefully selected photo frame. It's saying J.D. Vance's beard projects toxic masculinity while Tim Walz's eyes project compassion and sympathy. Like, man, I can't. Just these MSM platforms. I just can't imagine why you guys would be hemorrhaging money.
Isn't it amazing that people can make a living writing
something like that?
Like, yes. I spend a lot of time writing, and I make no money off it. Mm-hmm. I feel like I make good points.
Yeah,
but all I really have to do is come
something
up with
like that,
drivel like that, and I'd be a fucking paid New York Times journalist in air quotes.
Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
We got fucked, man.
Do you think that's true? That Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terror? You'd have to define terror, I guess, to come to a conclusion on that. But what do you think about that?
That is patently false.
Really?
Yes.
Expand on that.
What other countries has Iran invaded and toppled their democratically elected leaders?
Well, there's, of course, Israel. No, I can't think of one.
Other than that, I think that's a pretty solid point.
But they've armed terrorists, right?
Okay. What countries have they overthrown?
Well, they armed Al Qaeda, didn't they?
So did
wait, no,
that was us.
Oh, that was us.
Yes.
Okay. Have
They armed the Taliban.
Okay. Oh no,
that was
no,
us.
no. We did that. We did that.
Oh,
Twice.
ISIS.
We armed the Taliban twice. ISIS.
ISIS.
There you go.
Yeah. That was us.
When ISIS used to be Al Qaeda, right? And then they became ISIS
to fight the Taliban, but we armed them too. Yeah, that one's kind of tricky. Let's not go there.
Hold on. We gave money to these terrorist organizations who we were fighting against previously.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, we got it this time.
Okay. So, no, that's us. So we armed the terrorists.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going somewhere else with that. Yeah, I guess. I got to look on Wikipedia.
I mean, what's the definition of terrorism? He's saying that they were the
Killing
number
people
one
for-
state sponsor of
what is
terrorism.
it? It's killing or instilling fear in a population for political gain.
Right.
Right.
We've done that over and over again. It is undeniable that the United States is the number one state sponsor of terrorists. Literal terrorists. We armed Al Qaeda. We armed the Taliban twice. We sponsored ISIS. And now that ISIS has taken over Syria, we are okay with that. Even though ISIS, who used to be Al Qaeda in Iraq, were our enemies. And we sent thousands of men and some women to die in Iraq to fight those people. And then, which was Tulsi Gabbard's big thing with supporting Donald Trump, saying that I am what was her thing? She was for the war on terror, against the war for terror. Do I have that right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, where she was for fighting terrorism, but she was against sponsoring terrorism. And that's what she said many times, because the Obama administration actually funded Al Qaeda when they became ISIS and were fighting against.
And took us from 2 wars to 7.
Yeah.
And got the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. But I don't know how you can argue that the United States is not the number one sponsor of terror in the world. And what is Iran sponsored? Hezbollah? Hamas?
World Cup team?
Allegedly that the...
they have a World Cup team.
No, not that. That
I've seen it. Oh, it was AI.
It could be. You just can't trust anything anymore. But, the allegation is that they sponsored Hamas, right? On October 8th, 2023, what we heard was Iran. Yeah. Iran sponsored
Lindsey
Hamas.
Graham saying now's the time to strike Iran.
Yeah.
And it was like, replace the N with a Q. I'm like, it's the same thing. It's like, we need the new Pearl Harbor, according to the Project for New American Century, which Lindsey Graham was affiliated with. It's like, we have this thing that happened, like, all right, we got it. And because here's the point of everything we've been talking about, and I think you're driving at it, is it's more than the countries, the 7 countries, right? It's more than that because we added more than that. But just take those 7 countries that we invaded. Now, there's one thing missing from the equation right now, right? Go back to we invaded Iraq. We needed a what? A new
Pearl Harbor,
which was
9/11.
9/11, right? And we needed that for why?
To get people on board.
Yeah, we needed public sentiment because they can't go out and announce like, "Hey, we're getting you guys involved in what could potentially be a world war." Now, that one thing is missing from the equation right now, and this should concern everybody because that's it's something not just Charlie Kirk's people, but just there was another poll I saw. It's like in the low 80s are against being in a war against Iran. I don't care if you're left or right. Most average American civilians are against going to war, right?
Yeah.
Because it's devastating to everybody. They don't like the idea of it.
We understand what it means.
What we're missing from this equation right now, we have everything. We have the conflict set up. We have lucky number 7, last one on the list, the one that's been planned, at least on paper, since 1996, that we're going to take over and devastate and rebuild, using my finger quotes there. There was no big contracts for BlackRock. Yeah, Iraq, it was Halliburton and Blackwater. Is we are getting to this last one, but the thing that we don't have is American sentiment. People going like, yeah, I want to go to war. Because if Trump doesn't have that, this will be the end of his legacy. He will be one of the worst presidents that we've ever known. Unless something happens that gets everyone on board that like, yeah, let's fucking do this. Do you remember America right after 9/11?
Oh, yeah.
It's just
American flags on every car.
Let's go bomb some motherfuckers. Someone's got to fucking pay for this. Like, we're all on board.
Yeah.
You know, my like, I have friends in the army. Like, America, I'm a patriot. American flags everywhere. We don't have that right now because we haven't had that new Pearl Harbor or 9/11.
Yeah.
And we're missing that right now.
Go
ahead.
Before you peak on this, because before you climax, I want to finish this video from him because what you're getting at is exactly the sentiment that everyone listening to this, everyone who's not listening to this, should be feeling right now about what we're actually on the precipice of doing. And it could be has the potential to be so much worse than the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war. I mean, we're talking about like potentially the end of civilization over this thing when we get the right pieces on the chessboard into the right place.
I'll think about baseball.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs.
I can't remember Iran ever blowing off anyone's legs or arms. He's talking about Iraq right here. I mean, the irony is fucking like thick.
I think what he's doing is trying to paint the picture with a wide brush. It's a propaganda talking point. They're like, those people.
Iran, Iraq, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
like it's all the same.
Not Israel is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Israel is white. These guys are brown. Like, we've all seen the pictures.
That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu.
The beatings will continue until morale improves. So, hey, Iran, it's time for peace. All right, we bombed the shit out of you. Now, if you don't want peace, then it's going to continue. And the consequences, who gives a shit about the consequences? Because you blew our soldiers' arms and legs off over the last 30 years. And so now you're going to pay the price. Except they didn't. We were never at war with Iran. In fact, we were at war with their neighboring country, Iraq.
Which they were enemies with.
Who was initially their enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the exact same playbook that we've seen 6 times before, and we're just falling right into it again. It's weapons of mass destruction. They hate our freedom. They need a regime change. Trump has
brutal dictators.
Yep.
Same thing. Wash, rinse, repeat. Same thing over and over.
The people are going to rise up, and democracy is going to sweep the nation.
Welcome us with open arms.